Welcome, everybody. We're talking today to Rob Cressy from Chicago, and we're talking about crossover Super Bowl prop bets. And it's very interesting, some of the things that they're putting together, pairing up just like this. I'll give you a for instance. What if San Antonio Spurs win the title? Does Tim Duncan retire? And if the Broncos win the title, does Peyton Manning retire? All right, two type of crossover bets that are interesting, but also hold value against the book. So, Rob, first and foremost, thanks for being on with us. What is your take on these crossover Super Bowl prop bets, and what are some of the more interesting ones that may hold some value, even though they kind of seem crazy?
Well, I love prop bets for the simple reason of it keeps me interested in the game, regardless of the outcome of the game. As we've seen in previous Super Bowls, when there's a blowout, if you're on one of the sides, you either got the win or the loss, and you're like, oh man, what am I going to do to keep watching? So it's the extracurricular prop bets, where literally one year I was betting on the longest punt, things like that, anything to keep you vested and more interested, especially when a lot of times you really don't care one way or another if you're not rooting for the Broncos or the Panthers. So for me, that is my mindset. One of them right out of the gate that caught my eye, because I'm a Buffalo chicken wings lover, is how many wings will Buffalo Wild Wings sell on Sunday? Over under is 12 million chicken wings.
God.
And the price on that is minus 120. Here's the thing with it. Last year they sold 11 million chicken wings, up from 9.1 million the year before. Unfortunately, Buffalo Wild Wings has had negative financials the last couple of quarters, which isn't good. However, they have increased the number of shift managers, and online ordering does allow them to get faster orders in as opposed to the phone. You have to imagine Buffalo Wild Wings knows the publicity that can be a part of crushing this number. Because of this, I am going with the over. I believe there's 1.3 billion chicken wings that are going to be eaten this Super Bowl, according to, I think it's like the National Chicken Council. That's what it is. So for me, I am pro chicken wing. I will do what I can to help support the chicken wing cause.
Who in the world would ever think Buffalo Wild Wings would have an impact on sports betting for the biggest day and the biggest game of the year? You know, imagine just the exposure they're getting from that. That is absolutely crazy. One question that a lot of our viewers may have out there, when it comes to a prop bet like that, crossover, and something that's just so out of the ordinary, do most books usually put a small limit on that bet?
I think so, certainly, because it's such an arbitrary number. With you're really looking for the edge there. I think they're appealing certainly to the casual bettor a lot more, knowing with the Super Bowl that you're going to get people who aren't necessarily looking for value. What they're looking for is fun. And I think in Super Bowl prop bets, that's the key. I think you're seeing limits of $500 or $1,000, nothing crazy, because who wants to lose 5 figures on a Buffalo Wild Wings bet? Something like that. So yeah, certainly I can see why there'd be limits put in place for some of these.
And I like the way that you talked about it earlier as you were presenting this. You know, for the bettor that's only has a side, you know, they're disappointed. They're like, oh shit, it's over. What am I going to do? This does. It keeps you interested in the game. And if you're that fan that doesn't have a favorite in the game, you really kind of want both teams, this is a way to separate your heart from it. And I think it's very interesting. Rob, there's one that caught my eye right away, and I think this is a lock, and I don't even like that word. But it doesn't have to do with the actual physical play of the game. So I think it's a lock. And what it is, will Peyton Manning cry during the broadcast after the game, whether it comes to retiring or losing? Will he cry on national television? And it's minus 120 that says no. I got news for you. The Peyton Manning I've watched through all these years holds his composure, holds his emotions very well, and doesn't wear them on his sleeve. I think that's a lock. If anything, he'll smile as he goes down the sunset and rides out on his last game. What are your thoughts on that? Peyton Manning crying during the broadcast?
I am going the opposite direction. So we saw him get emotional when he left Indianapolis to go to Denver, rightfully so. So it proves that he is not an emotionless robot. I also saw a YouTube video from the Super Bowl against Seattle where Peyton Manning wiped his eye for a second. So what I'm really looking for is a slight edge that Peyton Manning could potentially have one crocodile tear come down his face. So let's think about the scenarios in which Peyton Manning could cry. One, the Denver Broncos win the Super Bowl, he rides off and he retires. Two, it goes the complete opposite direction, and Peyton Manning, knowing that this is his last game, riding off with his helmet up like this, people cheering him. There could be one crocodile tear, sort of like someone getting married. You don't need someone to be completely bawling. All we need is one tear. I love the value because I can at least create the narrative for where it would happen, and the Super Bowl is emotional regardless. So if you consider all that is going, this could be the culmination of Peyton Manning's Hall of Fame career right here because of that. And you know what? I want to root for Peyton Manning crying during this game. As a prop bettor, fun is certainly part of this, and I would love to have on my sports betting resume, I want to bet when Peyton Manning cried during the Super Bowl.
You know, and I'm going to throw this in there because I'm a Peyton Manning fan from way back, and I know also because I tie emotions with sports. It even has a lot of to do with lines. I know ego plays into it. Here's my thought on it. I think that last Super Bowl, and when you did kind of see that tear, and he knew that was an opportunity, they had never a better opportunity. All right, he had the emotion, and yes, he had it when he left Indianapolis because that was real, and that's where he won his Super Bowl. My input here is I think if they win the Super Bowl, there's no chance you'll see a tear because he's going to be so overjoyed. I think he's past that emotional part as far as that. Now, if they lose, I think that's the only chance of a tear because deep down he knows that was his last chance, and reality hit him that he didn't get to tie his brother and have 2 Super Bowls, which I don't think is going to happen. But I think that's the only way emotion-wise you'll see it. But again, who knows? It's absolutely crazy. And it's interesting to see, you know, what he's going to do with that. There's another one that's a little more serious, but I think it holds value, and it has to do with the official Mike Carey that does the reviews of the challenge plays, okay? Will he miss or get a challenge wrong? Because he did last week, and the odds I'm seeing are minus 190, I believe, as being no. I think that's a good pick because that guy is going to want to sharpen up his game if there's another challenge and they ask his input. I don't think he'll get one wrong. Throughout the year, you didn't see him get, I think, maybe 2 or 3 wrong throughout the whole year. What are your thoughts on Mike Carey, and do you see value there?
So, from a public standpoint, rooting against Mike Carey sounds like an awesome idea. But smart money will be on no. Reason being, this year, Mike Carey was 90% on his calls. Shout out to For the Win on these stats. He had 44 reviews, 36 correct, 4 incorrect, 4 no decisions. So go next level on this bad boy. Denver, 14th most penalties per game in the NFL, 7 per game. Carolina, 7th fewest at 6.2. So we're looking at about 13 penalties in this game. So how many of them are going to be controversial where they've got to go to the booth? Not a lot of them. I know it would be super fun to root against Mike Carey, and certainly back to the narrative of, all right, if the game is a blowout, well, you get to root for penalties in the event that you bet for Mike Carey to screw up. That could be a lot of fun. But I do believe you're correct. The smart money is on no with a 90% clip there and a few amount of opportunities. We may only see Mike Carey 3 times. So really, he would have to be betting well below his average in order for him to not hit this. So for this, I'm going with no.
Okay. There's another interesting one, and since we're talking crossover, this fits right in. All right. The hottest basketball player, the MVP, obviously, in the NBA is Steph Curry. All right. He is born and raised in Carolina. Big fan. Father was from there. All right. He is known and been seen on the sidelines. He is guaranteeing a win, by the way, by the Panthers. There's a prop bet. Will he be wearing a Cam Newton jersey, a Carolina Newton jersey, or his own personal Steph Curry jersey, or no jersey at all? And those odds are kind of interesting. The one that is supposedly personalized, that's even odds. The one that says he's going to have the Cam Newton, that's plus 300. Any take on Steph Curry and what jersey he might be wearing during that game?
So I wouldn't think it would be the Cam Newton jersey because I think Steph Curry would care about personal branding. Bam. Steph is on fire right now, so I think he would much rather see Curry on the back instead of Newton. So for me, it would come down to personalized jersey versus no jersey at all. So you have to think about, all right, if the Carolina Panthers were to win the Super Bowl, then there's going to be some celebrating out there. Is Steph Curry going to want to be celebrating in a jersey, or as the Nature Boy Ric Flair said, is he going to want to be styling and profiling, looking good? But I think that the smart money is on Steph Curry wearing his personalized jersey. And I don't know this off the top of my head, but did Steph Curry wear that during the playoffs leading up to this? Because I know a lot of people are superstitious, and you got to go with what got you here. So I would think that Steph Curry's personalized jersey would be the one he's going to go with.
And, you know, another factor, these guys like Mike Carey, Steph Curry, they know about these prop bets because, you know, it's very, very much advertised now, especially, you know, in the circle that they're in. So, you know, they're going to have a little take on that and go, yeah, I'm going to wear this jersey, or I'm going to do this and that. And it's kind of interesting. Do you see any other prop bets, the crossover, that are real interesting, grabbing your attention before we close this out, Rob?
Yeah. Chris Paul assists versus the Heat versus the Broncos' first half points. It's minus 120 either way. So I did some digging on this one. The Broncos averaged 10.9 first half points per game. The Carolina defense allowed only 7.1 first half points, which was second in the NFL. Chris Paul is currently averaging 9.5 assists per game. And over the last 3 weeks, his low was 7 and his high was 13. So we've got the range right there. The Heat are 5th best in the NBA in defensive efficiency, which is certainly something that does come into play here. But just last night, James Harden had 14 assists against this Heat team. I'm someone who likes to think that this game is probably going to be under. Because of that, I like the ceiling of Chris Paul, who's one of the best guys dishing the rock in the NBA. I'm going to go with over on Chris Paul assists over Broncos first half points.
That's interesting. And Rob, as we do close out, is there one that is more particular that you like, that you want to put out there as a pick to give our viewers, hey, you want to make some money, take this prop bet. This is one I think might not or cannot lose. Is there one, or maybe even two, that you want to put out there for a solid pick?
So, yes, here's one is Ted Ginn. Will Ted Ginn Jr. drop a pass? It is minus 120, yes or no. I am going with no. Here's the thing. Ted Ginn led wide receivers in the NFL in dropped passes, the qualifier being anybody with 60 or more targets. He drops 10.4% of his passes. But here's the thing. His targets the last 4 games, 3, 14, 3, 1, and 2. That's actually the last 5 games. Plus, Denver's secondary is top-notch. As we mentioned, one of the best in the NFL. So if we're saying Ted Ginn has a chance of getting 3 or fewer targets, and it's against a very good secondary, there may not even be an opportunity for him to drop a pass. I know, of course, that Ted Ginn, everyone wants to root for because we see him drop the biggest passes out there. But I don't think there's going to be enough targets for him. Because of that, I'm going with no. Ted Ginn Jr. will not drop a pass.
Okay. And what were the odds on that again?
Minus 120 either way.
All right, fantastic. Okay, well, listen, Rob, we enjoy having you here. I like this outlook on something totally different from your normal square better. So I appreciate everything. Look forward to having you back again. And good luck this Super Bowl with all of your bets. And we'll get back with you again next week, my friend.
Thanks. Had a ton of fun. Boom shakalaka.